Facebook, and they tweet. Laura tweets at Rep. Laura Fine. You don't have to write that down, but try to remember that. We are at Northfield Dems, and we also have Facebook posts, as do these people. Our next speaker, at Elaine Nekritz, is the Assistant Majority Leader in the House, and one of the representatives of this township, and a fabulous person.
Thank you, Dan, and wow, what a great crowd. Remember when we fit in the phone booth. So my role tonight is to bring you up to speed a little bit on what's going on with criminal justice reform in the Illinois, in Illinois government. This is an area where actually Republicans and Democrats have been able to come together and do some good work in the last couple of years. So this is it. This is the only place we've been able to come together and do some good work, but there are some really excellent things happening. Obviously, mass incarceration and over-incarceration has been what's driven our policies and driven the increase in the prison population over the last several decades. We are now in the process of reversing that, and it's really an amazing thing to watch. There are three general areas, I'd say, where there's a lot of work being done this spring in the House and the Senate around criminal justice reform. One of those is getting rid of monetary bail. If you're arrested and you go before a judge, judges will confirm this for me. They say, you have to pay some cash before you can get out of jail. So our jails, our Cook County Jail, is packed with people who are there simply because they're poor and they can't make the bail. They're not a safety risk. They're not a flight risk. They're just poor. And so so there's a number of pieces of legislation that have been filed to get rid completely of monetary bail, and we'll see where those go. So that's one area. The second area is in the area of sealing and expungement. So if you're arrested or convicted of a crime, your record stays with you unless you can have it sealed, which means it's protected from viewing, or better yet, maybe you can get it expunged, which means it's gone entirely, and that record disappears so that no one will ever know that you had a run-in with the criminal justice system. Juveniles especially, this is a very difficult area because their record stays with them. If you're 16 and you do something kind of stupid and that record stays with you for the rest of your life, it prevents you from housing, from employment, from all the things that we would want our young people to grow into and have available to them. So again, there's a number of pieces of legislation dealing with both the sealing of criminal records and the expungement of criminal records. And then last, which is one that's personal to me, is an effort to try to bring down for all of us, frankly, because all of us at one point, well, I'm assuming most of us, will get some kind of traffic ticket or other, to bring down the fees that you pay when you are pulled over for a traffic ticket, or if you commit a crime or that kind of thing. So let's just say you're caught speeding, and you may go in and your fine might be $100, and then you go to pay that, and the circuit court clerk says, I'm sorry, you owe us $450. Like, whoa, what happened there? So the legislature over the last 20 years has piled on fee after fee after fee after fee to fund a lot of good things, but not necessarily related to the court system and not necessarily related to the crime, the traffic crime that you committed. So we have a piece of legislation to try to roll some of that back, to make it much more rational so that you're not surprised when you go to pay those fees as to how much it should be. It's much more transparent. I dare say right now judges don't understand at all what all these fees are, and so sometimes they either just award them or might just say, never mind. So all these folks that think that they're collecting dollars to support something because the legislature passed a piece of legislation for them to award them a fee, they're not getting it so much. So I'm happy to provide you bill numbers if there's something specific here that you're interested in. I can give you my card and I'll look those up for you. The chair of the criminal law committee in the House, at least, is, because there's so many bills filed around each of the sealing and expungement and the bail issues, he's trying to bring them all together and end up with one large reform package. So I don't know what that will end up being ultimately, but there's a lot of individual bills that have been filed, and I'm happy to provide that information for you if that's of interest to you. I always feel a little awkward in a crowd like this, that it doesn't really impact us as much in our communities, which it's true, it doesn't. But it does impact our region, obviously, with what's going on with the violence in the city, the destruction of our inner city communities, I think is very much related to what we've done with mass incarceration, so reversing that does matter to all of us. Thank you.
Laura mentioned that they're turning to some environmental issues in a few weeks from now, and Tracy, Michelle, and Bit are going to tell you about a very exciting seminar coming up in about a week and a half from now, about 2 weeks, on environmental issues. But Commissioner Deborah Shore at the Water Rec District deals with environmental issues every day on our behalf, and she'd like to say a few words to you.
Thank you, Dan, and good evening, everyone, and it's great to be back among you. 10 years ago, you elected me as the first person to run with any kind of conservation credentials for the Water Reclamation District in more than 20 years. And it's been a terrific decade. I've written about it in an annual report I produce each year, and this is up on my website, of some of the things we've been able to do over the last 10 years. The Water Reclamation District treats sewage and manages stormwater for all of Cook County. It has a $1.2 billion budget, and we certainly have learned over the years how important it is to protect our freshwater resources. We are so fortunate to have access to Lake Michigan and to one of the world's great repositories of fresh surface water. But it's incumbent on us to be good stewards and to show that we can manage it carefully. If work is to be done on climate change, which I believe is the overarching issue of our time, it's going to happen at the local and the state level. It's not going to happen federally, at least in the near term. The Water Reclamation District is on a path to become energy neutral in 7 years. This is an agency that used to spend $50 million a year on electricity. Instead, we're going to be generating renewable energy through biogas generation at 2 of the largest plants. This is an agency that's transforming itself into a resource recovery agency, beginning to recognize that all those things we considered waste have value. And how do we capture and monetize that value? So through a new project at the largest plant called Stickney, we're removing phosphorus from the treated water. Instead of discharging it into the Chicago waterways where it's a pollutant, causes algae to grow, we're going to be able to produce a slow-release fertilizer that we can sell and generate revenue for taxpayers and get ahead of more stringent regulations that will limit the amount of phosphorus that can be discharged in waterways. It's a terrific win for Cook County and for the environment. We're going to be producing a high-quality compost by mixing biosolids with wood chips that we have begun to sell in large quantities. And finally, we're looking at reuse of treated water so that we can use water more than once before we send it to the Gulf of Mexico. So a lot of exciting things are underway. You'll hear from me again between now and next March because I do intend to run for another term. Thank you.